interesting aspect of Kakaki, the African Voice Board. Thank God it's back now. The founder of Commode Cancer Foundation, Dr. Dennis Ejo, will be speaking on rectal cancer. And of course, she'll be sharing the experience of a medical doctor who is a rectal cancer survivor, Dr. Izuhua Madasun. Over to you now, Dr.
It's good to
Dennis
have you.
Ejo. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you again.
Good morning. Nice to see you guys. I missed you.
We did miss you as well. Okay, the floor is yours now.
Thank you. Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to another edition of our Kakaki Cancer Awareness with Dr. Denise Ejo, CEO of Commode Cancer Foundation in partnership with AIT. We got a guest in our house today, so firstly, I always make it very clear, let us thank AIT because this is a sponsored program and they have continually ensured that we've been on air for over 1.5 years. So I want to say a very big thank you, and we're all happy to be back. We appreciate the leadership and management for this commitment. So March is a colorectal cancer month. I think I'm correct. And colorectal cancer is the 5th most common cause of cancer in Nigeria and one of the highest death rates as well. So together we fight, together we win. In the house we have got Dr. Izu. Now I call her Dr. Izu or Dr. Direct so that I don't even get myself distressed. Doc, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, ma'am. I'm very fine today. Thank you so much for having me.
You look very, very nice. I look half asleep. You look very nice. Welcome and thank you for joining me this morning as we talk about cancer, colorectal cancer or rectal cancer to be precise. But you will explain that as we go along. So let me introduce you very quickly. Dr. Izuha is a medical doctor, healthcare entrepreneur, financial coach, and author based in Lagos, Nigeria. He teaches people globally how to live more healthy and financially secure lives through their use of great health and beauty products, building of successful distributorship businesses, and personal finance education. He's a doctor, medical doctor, so please don't just get carried away all this other part. She is a Christian who loves traveling and adventure, good food, Latin dancing, wow, and surrounds herself with positive quality people. Yes, that's why you're connected. That's why we're connected, because you have to be positively. you have to agree on that one, don't you? Yeah. Good morning, and thank you for joining us this morning. And let us now hit the road running. So we got a few questions for you, but generally the aim is to make sure that we get an awareness through on rectal cancer. So what is rectal cancer and what are its symptoms? Is rectal cancer the same as colorectal cancer?
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. So let me kind of start with the last question. Rectal cancer is a subset of colorectal cancer. So the colon basically is the large intestine from the beginning to the end, and then the rectum, which is where rectal cancer originates, is the lower portion of the large intestine just above the anus. So cancer that originates from the rectum is rectal cancer, and it can present with different kind of symptoms. So initially, in the early stages, there may be no symptoms whatsoever, which is why it can be a bit tricky to diagnose. But then as it progresses, you get specific symptoms like there can be some discomfort and pain in the abdomen or back due to the tumor. There could be bleeding. So you can notice blood in the stool, or the stool is a very dark color due to altered blood within it. Then also what can happen is that depending on the size, especially, it could have the stool coming out in like narrowed pellets. It wouldn't be the normal size of one stool, basically, because the rectum that is blocking that passageway is making it. it once or twice a day. It has a particular consistency. But when you have a change in that, either there's diarrhea or constipation, or there could be a swing between both. There's just that change in the bowel pattern or consistency. Yes, it can also be as a result of rectal cancer. And then you have the non-specific symptoms, which is what cancer generally can cause, like unexplained weight loss, like fatigue, so feeling tired like all the time, sometimes fevers, all of that. Those are usually the symptoms. Yeah.
Thank you. You know, when if somebody sees you now, they will know that you have been on this journey with us. So that's nice, and it's interesting when we start a conversation and actually understand what we're trying to talk about. Now you're going to tell us about your journey on the cancer, because you know one of the things I always turn around and say is cancer is an everyday illness that is persistent, and your description is to do with going to toilet. So I give you the floor. Can you share your experience on your journey?
Okay, yes. So for me, what kind of started me down this path of trying to figure out what was wrong was the fact that I noticed blood in my stool. That was the thing that alarmed me. I noticed I could see like bright red blood in my stool. And initially, because I was working with kids in the hospital, what I thought of initially was that I had an infection of some sort, so something that could be managed with antibiotics, which I did try initially, but up to 2 weeks into it, I was still seeing blood in the stool, and that kind of made me really worried. I did have like the abdominal pain, back pain, and that. Just having that feeling like something has been off, especially because for about a year in time, I had the very like unexplained episodes of diarrhea, something that would just happen maybe for 2 days and then stop maybe every 2 to 3 months. It was just something that I didn't really connect together, but I said, okay, let's look into, thankfully, because of my medical knowledge, just actually just have a definitive test to check what is actually happening in my intestine. And yeah, got the doctor specialist to do a colonoscopy. And that was when everything was discovered. It was very clear that I had a tumor which was actively bleeding in my rectum. And that's the biopsy was done, showed that it was cancer, had body scans done to show that it had spread because it was stage 4 at the time I it was discovered that it had spread to my liver and other places. So yeah, it was when the tumor was discovered, that's when I could think back to the whole change in bowel habits and everything that had preceded it. When me standing for longer and feeling this kind of like low back pain, I began to tie all those things together. So it just shows you that you can have very like random symptoms or things that you attribute to other things. I was attributing it to stress and studying a lot because I worked a very stressful job. So I didn't know there was something else happening.
Thank you for talking about that, because a lot of people don't like to talk about this cancer journey, but I think that the more we talk about it, the more we help others not to be afraid of it, but rather to embrace it and try and get help very quickly. You've just said you were stage 4. You've also just said that it was stool, and you've also just said how you, if not because you were a doctor, you would not have picked it up that easily. So that just tells us a lot of stuff. So from your knowledge as a medical practitioner, we started off with you being a survivor now. So now let's go back to being a medical practitioner and a survivor at the same time. Can you provide some guidance on expectations cancer patients need or rectal cancer patients need when undergoing a treatment? Now, what's the treatment? A summary of like what are the everyday treatment things they should expect, and how are we going to navigate this?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that question. So, the mainstay or what is commonplace for as treatment for rectal cancer is chemotherapy. There are other things. depending on the stage, but chemotherapy is usually what patients are placed on, and chemotherapy drugs have their side effects. So things from making you either vomit, have some diarrhea. Sometimes it makes your appetite like really poor. It causes hair loss, some certain skin changes, color discoloration of your fingernails, toenails, all kinds of things. And even that is like general chemo drugs, but even there are some that specifically have their own side effects. So part of the patient education for survivors, anybody that's going to put on that has to be well educated on the possible side effects. And this is something your doctors will always explain to you what is possible. Now it can play out in different ways. For instance, one of the side effects of my drug was hair loss. So I ended up not losing my hair. That is not the case for someone else. So it can be very individualized. But yeah, it really takes its toll on the body. So one kind of has to know. And then there are doctors usually advise certain medication or certain measures to help at least temper the side effect or the degree of side effect. So if it's causing drug, they put you on anti-nausea medication. It's causing you to have diarrhea, they put you on medication to help with that. And then other kinds of therapy, like radiotherapy, they also have their side effects. So you always be educated based on whatever the treatment you are being given is. And I think when we talk about health, we're not just talking about the toll on your body now. There's also how it affects you psychologically. So emotional. I mean, anybody that has a diagnosis of cancer, it opens your life to a significant degree all of a sudden. There are things that need to change in life, and just being able to deal with such a diagnosis can be trying. So expecting that your emotions can be all over the place and that you need to find ways, what I like to call positive distractions, able to keep you as sane as possible and fighting positive spirits so that you can go on to beat the disease.
That's interesting. Can I just come back to you on this now? So you had stage 4. Did you have any surgeries?
Okay, yeah. So I had a surgery, or well, 2 surgeries to first of all have what we call a diverting colostomy. So because of the size of the tumor in my rectum and the fact that I was at a point almost completely obstructed, which means no stool could pass through anymore, I had to have a colostomy, which is basically a surgery where a part of your large intestine is brought up through your abdomen, and a bag is connected so that stool can flow freely, because an obstruction is something you do not want. So I had that, and the idea is finish the treatments, make sure we're done with all the cancer treatment, and then reverse it, because all my second surgery was just reversing it so that everything is kind of back to normal.
You see why I like talking to you guys, because you guys educate us. Ignorance is no longer an excuse, and sometimes it's good to actually understand the experience, the knowledge and the experience, so you can always marry them and know what next. You've talked about your experiences. Now I want to ask a question. I want 3 things you feel will make a difference in changing the narrative, so we can actually close the care gap in this 2023 in Nigeria. Now, the statistics figures that came out in January of this year said that as of January, 1.8 million people were diagnosed with cancer globally. And in that same January, 900,000 people had already died by the end of January. So if we're looking at that, and we already know that in Nigeria, our survival rates are very low. Is that the right word? Yeah, survival rates is very low. Now, but there is prevention. So there are things we need to know to help us. Can you give us 3 things that you feel will make a difference in changing us and making us at least give ourselves a chance, a fighting chance?
Okay. So let me try and highlight 3 things to like different people, like the government, the the health stakeholders, let me put them that way, and then us as individuals. Right? So for the government, anybody who knows, the healthcare sector currently is in a less than desirable state, to put it mildly, and it needs all the funding like possibly get to cater to the volume of citizens that we have and volume of cancer cases that keep coming up. The unfortunate thing is that cancer is on the rise, and this is a global thing, including Nigeria. So to be able to handle the volume of patients and give them the quality of care that is necessary, the government has to put a focus on that and fund hospitals um, accordingly. It's a shame that up until recently, or fairly recently, we didn't even have a center that had a PET scan, which is a very, very important imagery system for patients with cancer to be able to stage them, monitor their progress and all. So yes, there's a lot that the government needs to do to be able to help the public and private sector so that the average citizen can get the care they need. And then when it comes to holders, so the healthcare practitioners, NGOs, various organizations that help in this cancer fight, push awareness and all that, it's important to know that they have to keep going and to different categories of people. It's not just a particular class or a particular region. Everybody has to be aware of this, because once people are not even aware that there could possibly be a problem, once they don't know what to look out for, once they don't know how to prevent these things from happening or how to get the care they need, you don't know what you don't know. And so if you do not know, then it's going to be a problem. A lot of these cases end up being diagnosed late, which is a huge problem. So yes, we need to do more in terms of awareness, going to our communities, always in all languages, through all media. We have to educate people correctly and get them to see that cancer is not a death sentence. I mean, people like to stay away from it. No, you can't tell me I have cancer. But the fact is, even when we don't pray for bad things in life, these things do happen. And no one, absolutely no one, is immune. Before we really think of cancer as a disease of maybe older people, or that is not the case, especially now. Younger people are coming down with cancer. In fact, there have been interesting CNN articles about this. Rectal cancer or colorectal cancer in particular. Scientists have noticed that there's been an increase in the rate of younger people coming down with it, and they can't even explain why. So people need to know that, see, this is something that can happen and we need to be very proactive. Which brings me to the third thing, and that is for you as the individual, right? This one, no matter your religion, no matter race, no matter your educational status, it's really nobody is immune. And yeah, the good thing is that there are some things that are in your control. So being proactive with your health is super important, making sure you can live a healthier lifestyle that will reduce your risk. Things like eating healthy as much as possible, trying to make sure you're taking more of like whole foods, grains, fiber foods, so your fruits, your vegetables, white meat like fish, chicken, turkey, kind of things. Less of red meat, less of alcohol, quitting smoking. Make sure you improve your lifestyle. Exercise regularly, because being overweight, obese makes you more prone to all such things. If you have a chronic illness, things like diabetes, making sure that you can manage it well, because that also increases your risk of developing cancer. And then you really have to know your body, know what is normal, so that when there's any change, don't just, attribute it to, stress, or that headache that's happening, or that pain I feel must be something I ate, or those things. No, if there's something wrong, make sure you go to a good health facility, get yourself checked. There is no, when it comes to your health is priority. Don't think, oh, it's just one thing that I cannot spend money for. You have to really push that. And screening exercises. Thankfully, every now and again, some police do these sometimes free or subsidized screening services. Make sure you go check it. Make sure you go check yourself, get tested, just never know, you and your loved ones, especially if maybe you have somebody, a family member who has been diagnosed with cancer before, or there are just different things that can increase your risk. It's super important to be proactive about your health.
Thank you. And as we draw to the end of this, I'm going to ask you to give me one sentence or message to everyone watching. And I started this conversation saying it is colorectal cancer month. Rectal cancer is one of the subs of colorectal cancer. I'm a layman, I always like to admit my own limitations. Okay, so can you give me one sentence, and I want it to be a very strong word that will impact everybody.
I would say this: your health is your business. That's that. Your health is your business.
Now, as we're ending this, now I want to say a very big thank you to you, Dr. Izua, because I will call you doctor. Just leave me alone like that, because one of the things I've learned is you have to always try to pronounce people's names correctly. Okay, so I want to thank you very, very, very much for joining us this morning. I want to thank you for sharing a bit of knowledge, especially as it's the end of March, but we still were able to get this program on before we finished the month, colorectal cancer. Thank you to AIT for this. But to you, thank you for joining us this morning. And I want to say to everyone else watching, it's been nice. It's nice to be back, and you can follow us on any of our social media pages, Commode Cancer Foundation. Please don't forget to go onto the AIT platform pages as well. You can always find these videos there, on their own pages as well. You can find them. So on Commode Cancer Foundation, share, subscribe, view, click the notification buttons, and you get a lot more information. We're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere. You'll find us. Trust me. Together we fight, together we win. Let us educate family and friends in this 2023. Thank you for joining us on AIT this morning, and we look forward to seeing you very soon. Have a fantastic day.
It's good to see her so happy. Good. It's fantastic to have you back, and you're looking so well. I sure know your fans missed you, and those who you educate on this show every 2 weeks in the month, they did miss you. But thankfully, you are back, and that education continues. We wish you the very best, and thank you for all you do on cancer awareness.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, so we'll take a quick break and come back with other segments of Kakake, the African Voice.